So
Absolutely.
let's go on to the next slide. Market share of top semiconductor suppliers, and this might surprise some people there. Intel obviously is very prominent in all of this, right?
Mhm.
Next up is Samsung. This is what I was saying. Like Samsung is an entire other business apart from, aside from selling their phones. They're
Yeah,
really
of
next
course.
up there. There's a few that are probably lesser known. I'll just touch on the ones that are sort of more widely known. We know Qualcomm. What I was surprised about was Toshiba as well. I didn't know that they were that into that. But just to give you a sense of the market share and the semiconductor supplies. And now on to AI chip sales. And
One more thing regarding the previous slide. For example, this whole presentation is not about processors. It's about the whole let's just say hardware side of things. So you have all types of integrated circuits. So for example, SK Hynix and Micron Technology, if I'm not mistaken, they might have some edge market share, but they're mostly doing memory. So they're
mhm,
doing only RAM, SD-RAM, VRAM, and stuff like that. So
niche,
this is, yeah, it's not necessarily niche, but rather not only processors. So you're not gonna see
right?
it. You're not gonna see on your phone SK Hynix whatever RAM. No, they're inside. This is just like you were saying regarding the materials. Like your phone has more things inside than a graphics card and a processor, and yeah,
Yeah,
no, it has a lot of stuff inside, and RAM is definitely a super important part of that. And I was just mentioning, like SK Hynix, like they're huge and they produce mostly memory. And same thing with Micron, if I'm not mistaken. I think Micron also does some storage, but
hmm,
from that perspective, like it's a big market. It's
it's huge,
not just processors and that's it. It's a big
it's
market.
huge. Yeah. So the next one is then growth of AI chips market, which was also interesting to have a look at. And obviously, knowing AI chips is what we'll be using for autonomous driving. So if you're interested in the autonomous driving space and what's going to happen there, they will require AI chips. And if you're bullish on Tesla, you should probably be bullish on this kind of stuff too. And as we know about now, that the entire car industry is following the lead of Tesla with having electric cars, and they are all full of AI chips because they all will then have to have self-driving fleets and so forth. So and technology in them. So having a look at what the projections are for this industry is pretty impressive. So you look at 2018 all the way up to 2021, where it's close. I think it's getting close to 20 billion, and by 2027 you have somewhere close to 100 billion, and that's just for AI chips. So, like
Mhm.
Adi said, there's many different types of chips that are required, but this is just talking about AI chips. So when you hear the talk about AI and that's going to be the future, you cannot have that future without these chips. And yeah, speaking of cars, here you can see a sort of illustration of what or how the types of areas in the cars and the segments in them are going to be divided. So you have a segment space with ADAS, the aftermarket, the body of the car, chassis, EV, HEV, infotainment systems that we all know about, the instrument cluster, powertrain, and safety. And all of these are expected to grow, right? And as you can see, you don't see any minus here. So
Yeah.
all of these things are expected to grow.
I actually
Um, and
have
I
a
have to admit,
sorry.
I have to admit, I don't know shit about ADAS. I don't even know what that is. To keep it all the way real, I'm not acting like I know all this stuff. The main thing that I know is the infotainment system because I'm also invested in Roku, and I'm actually surprised that that is just 8.2%. But maybe that's because infotainment is already pretty prevalent in cars and
Yeah.
other transportation. But I see huge growth in infotainment, for example, because the more cars get autonomous, the more people need shit to do when they're in the car. And there was crazy reports about sort of researchers assuming that sex in cars will increase when when autonomous driving starts, because this is one of the things people do
Yeah.
if they're alone in the back of a Tesla or whatever, which I thought was funny. But yeah, you can Netflix and chill in the back of a Tesla at that point
Yeah.
when self driving comes. So infotainment is going to be huge. So if you think that the future will include self driving, you should also believe that infotainment is going to go up, because if the car drives itself, we need something to do, and most of the things that
We
we
are back.
do, yeah, most of the things that we do are watch Netflix. You probably see it when you well, pre-pandemic, when you were commuting to work, you'll see somebody on their phone watching Netflix. So all of this will be in car, and you probably won't have to hold your phone in the back of a car. The screen will be at the back of the seat, just like in airplanes. And what's funny is I remember one time on a flight to America where I just had to go to the loo, and it was I think it was dark, like it was really late, and I stood up and I saw literally every airplane seat with just these sort of tiny lit up screens, and everybody was watching a different movie.
Hmm.
And it was crazy the way it hit me. And every time I think about infotainment and what that means for the future, I think about that moment. And it was really funny because everybody was having a different experience watching a different movie or whatever. But that goes to show that this is already here. When you're sitting in a plane, that is, for all you know, is autopilot. You just step into something and it's done for you. So the same thing will be in cars. Would you like to add anything to that, Adi?
No, just as you were speaking, regarding the percentages and stuff, I think your assessment regarding the infotainment is quite correct in the sense that we already have had like display screens in the car, so it's obvious like the growth wouldn't be as big, but I think it's gonna get bigger as we go further because, like you said, as we have autonomous vehicles, we're gonna have to spend our time somehow. And okay, sometimes we might bring our laptop or smartphone with us, but sometimes we might want to see more on the infotainment available in the car, which is actually
That's
quite
right.
an interesting play for Tesla and like other car manufacturers. How are they gonna monetize that? But I was just an interesting thing was regarding with the current chip shortages and for car manufacturers. I think it was either Ford or GM, and they said that basically they're putting in old parts in their new cars because they're not getting enough semiconductors, which it might
Wow.
work for certain aspects, like okay, maybe your ventilation is a bit more manual, maybe certain aspects, okay, they're not as high tech. I think, yeah. But then, for example, certain things are like super embedded in there, like so as time goes by, you're gonna have increasingly more need for it, and they're gonna be more interconnected. So you won't be able to just like pull them out and put some old stuff in. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would urge everybody to sort of do their own research, but you would just have to type in semiconductor shortage and you'll see hundreds and thousands of articles regarding this. And it's a space that will be definitely pumped, because, like I said earlier, it's of political interest. It's so important to a technological society that it's not just purely economical anymore. You have, I believe it was in the UK where they stopped the sale of a UK semiconductor company to some foreign country, and it was very rare that this happens, that a government interjects a sale. So it goes to show how important this is to political interests, even because you can be at the short end of the stick if you don't if you don't stay up to date on this kind of stuff as a government. Um,
Yeah.
so the semiconductor manufacturing capacity by country, and yeah, so this is 2019, and as you can see, this is the sort of split you're looking at, and by far, South Korea and Taiwan are very high up. I didn't actually know that South Korea had um, a higher rate than Taiwan. I'm not even
Again,
sure if this.
this is everything, including memory, including
Yeah,
everything. So Samsung
exactly.
is Korean.
Funny.
So
Ah, thank
yeah,
you. This is
yeah,
why it's good to have a co-host, man.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
brains better than one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so US and China are in a tie. But the thing is that China is exercising so much influence on Taiwan. They're doing all of this big dick swinging thing in Taiwan where they're testing out different. I mean, you probably heard of those things where they're testing out different um, military
Drills.
exercises around Taiwan. It's kind of like this thing where guys get in cars and then they speed across or something and just rev the engine like crazy just to make some kind of statement.
Yeah.
And that's what China doing all of these military exercises around Taiwan reminds me of.
Yeah, but dude, look at that, man. The first three spots and arguably the fourth ish are all in Asia. Seriously, like the
Yeah,
US and Europe, dude, we're nowhere. We're
Europe
nowhere.
is so far behind, man. It's crazy.
Look. It's literally comparing like a continent or at least a union of states with a tiny country like Israel. Come on, man. As Joe Biden would
Crazy,
say,
right?
come on, man. But no, seriously,
Come
like
on, man.
it's insane. Like
Yeah, let me not even start. Let
yeah.
me not even start with productivity in Europe. Yeah, we got gender studies.
No, they have them in the US as well, but
True, actually,
I,
predominantly maybe.
I
But
somehow I don't think they have them in China though.
but yeah, so Europe has a long way to go. But this was just to show how big the influence of Taiwan, for example, is, and just in general Asia, and that the rest of the world is relying on this. That when you hold your iPhone, that this is primarily made possible by these countries that you see here.
Yeah.
So, on to the next semiconductor revenue by region. Again, this shows it even more clearly, maybe. All of the profit, all of the revenue in this region is in Asia. Yeah, I think it's all just doing sort of eye measurements. It looks like it's just
Yeah, at least.
triple that of what.
It's more than triple,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
If
ahead.
you combined America and EMEA, it would just reach half of what